It was a normal Tuesday morning on Earth. People were going to work, kids were in school, and life was as usual. But high up in the sky, something strange was happening. Captain Sarah Lee of the International Space Station was the first to see it. She was looking out of the window when she saw a big, shiny object in space. At first, she thought it was a new satellite. But then she saw more and more objects appear. "Houston, we have a situation," Sarah said into her radio. Her voice was calm, but her heart was racing. "There are multiple unknown objects entering Earth's orbit." Down on Earth, in the NASA control room, people started to panic. Alarms were going off, and screens were flashing red. The head of NASA, Dr. John Smith, rushed into the room. "What's going on?" he asked, his face serious. A young technician pointed at the main screen. "Sir, we're detecting hundreds, no, thousands of objects entering our solar system. They're moving fast, and they're heading straight for Earth." Dr. Smith's face went pale. He picked up a red phone on the wall. "Get me the president," he said. Now. Within hours, the news was everywhere. TVs, phones, and computers all showed the same thing. A massive fleet of spaceships approaching Earth. They were like nothing anyone had ever seen before. Some were as big as cities, others as small as cars. They shimmered with strange lights and moved in ways that seemed impossible. People around the world reacted in different ways. Some were scared and hid in their homes. Others went out to the streets to watch the sky. Many prayed, thinking it was the end of the world. In New York City, crowds gathered in Times Square. The big screens that usually showed ads now showed live footage of the alien ships. People pointed and gasped as more and more ships appeared. "What do they want?" a woman asked, holding her child close. "Are they friendly?" Someone else shouted. Nobody had answers. The world held its breath, waiting to see what would happen next. In Washington, D.C., world leaders gathered for an emergency meeting. The room was tense. Nobody knew what to do. They had never prepared for something like this. Suddenly, all the screens in the room lit up. A face appeared, but it wasn't a human face. It had blue skin, 4 eyes, and no nose. When it spoke, its voice was deep and echoed strangely. "People of Earth," the alien said, "I am Emperor Zix of the Galactic Empire. We have come to add your planet to our realm. Resist, and you will be destroyed. Surrender, and you may live as our subjects. You have one Earth day to decide." The room exploded into chaos. Leaders shouted and argued. Some wanted to fight, others wanted to surrender. In the middle of it all, the President of the United States stood up. "Quiet," she shouted. The room fell silent. "We need to think about this carefully. We can't make a decision without more information." As the leaders debated, scientists around the world worked hard. They studied the alien ships, trying to understand their technology. Military generals made plans, preparing for the worst. Regular people didn't know what to do. Some packed their bags and tried to leave the cities. Others threw parties, saying it might be their last chance. Many families gathered together, hoping to face whatever came next as one. As the day went on, more alien ships arrived. They filled the sky, blocking out the sun in some places. It was both beautiful and terrifying. Night fell, and still, no decision had been made. The world waited, wondering what the morning would bring. Would Earth fight? Would it surrender? Or did humanity have another option, one that nobody had thought of yet? In homes, offices, and shelters around the world, people looked up at the sky. The alien ships glowed in the darkness, a constant reminder that everything had changed. Earth was no longer alone in the universe, and tomorrow, for better or worse, a new chapter in human history would begin. The sun rose on a changed Earth. People woke up, wondering if it had all been a bad dream. But when they looked out their windows, they saw the alien ships still there, floating in the sky like giant metal clouds. In Washington, D.C., world leaders had been up all night. They looked tired, with dark circles under their eyes. But there was a strange energy in the room. The President of the United States stood up to speak. "We have made our decision," she said. Her voice was firm and clear. "We will not surrender, but we will not fight either." The room burst into confused whispers. What did she mean? Meanwhile, in a secret underground lab, a team of scientists and engineers had been working nonstop. They had built something big. It was time to show the world. Back in the White House, the president pressed a big red button. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, suddenly, the sky lit up. A giant holographic sign appeared around the Earth. It was so big that it could be seen from space. The sign said just 2 words: "No entry." People around the world gasped as they saw the sign appear. In New York, a hot dog vendor dropped his tongs. In Tokyo, a businessman stopped in the middle of crossing the street. In Rio de Janeiro, a group of kids playing soccer all fell over in surprise. Up in the alien ships, Emperor Zix was furious. His blue face turned purple with anger. "What is the meaning of this?" he roared. His advisors cowered in fear. One brave advisor spoke up. "It seems, Your Highness, that the humans are refusing us entry." Emperor Zix couldn't believe it. In all his years of conquering planets, he had never seen anything like this. But we're the Galactic Empire." He sputtered. "They can't just say no." But Earth had done exactly that. Down on Earth, the president was giving a speech. It was being broadcast all over the world, and even to the alien ships. "People of Earth and our visitors from the stars," she said, "we have thought long and hard about the Empire's ultimatum, and we have decided that we like our planet just the way it is. We're not interested in joining any empires today, or tomorrow, or ever." She paused, then continued with a smile. "In other words, thanks, but no thanks. Please respect the sign and kindly see yourselves out." The speech ended, and for a moment, the whole world held its breath. What would the aliens do? In homes, offices, and bomb shelters, people huddled around TVs and radios. They waited for news of an attack, for the sound of alien weapons firing. But nothing happened. The alien ships just sat there. It seemed that Earth's response had confused them so much that they didn't know what to do. Hours passed, then days. The aliens didn't attack, but they didn't leave either. They just floated in the sky, like the world's strangest cloud formation. Life on Earth slowly started to go back to normal. People went to work and school, but now they did it under the watchful eyes of confused aliens. Some brave or foolish. People even tried to make contact. They stood on rooftops with signs saying, "We el me," or "We come in peace." A group of college students in California even tried to invite the aliens to a party. But the aliens didn't respond. They just watched and waited. As the days went by, something strange started to happen. People began to get used to the aliens. They became a normal part of life, like traffic or weather. "How's the alien situation today?" People would ask each other, the same way they used to ask about the weather. "Oh, still there," would be the usual reply. But behind the scenes, Earth's leaders and scientists were hard at work. They knew the aliens wouldn't stay confused forever. They needed a plan. In secret labs and hidden bunkers, they worked on new technologies. They studied the alien ships, trying to understand how they worked. And they prepared for what might come next. Because they knew that this was just the beginning. The real challenge was still to come. How long could Earth keep saying, "No entry," to the most powerful empire in the galaxy? Only time would tell. But for now, Earth had done something nobody expected. It had stood up to the Galactic Empire, armed with nothing but a holographic sign and a whole lot of attitude. And somehow, against all odds, it was working. Emperor Zix paced back and forth on the bridge of his flagship. His 4 eyes blinked rapidly, a sign of his growing frustration. It had been a week since Earth's unexpected response, and he was no closer to a solution. "Your Highness," one of his advisors said nervously, "perhaps we should consider, leaving." Zix spun around, his face turning a deep shade of purple. "Leave? Leave? We are the Galactic Empire. We do not leave." The advisor shrank back, regretting his words immediately. Another advisor, braver, or perhaps more foolish, spoke up. "But Your Highness, what about our other option? We could attack." Zix paused, considering. It was true, they had the firepower to flatten Earth's cities in minutes, but something held him back. Something about Earth's confident response made him uneasy. "No," he said finally. "Not yet. There's something strange about this planet. We need to know more before we act." Meanwhile, on Earth, life had taken on a surreal quality. People went about their daily routines under the watchful eyes of the alien ships. Some found it terrifying, others exciting. A few even found it boring. In New York City, a hot dog vendor had set up his cart directly under one of the smaller ships. Best view in the city. He would shout to passersby, "Get your hot dogs," and an alien encounter, all for $5. But not everyone was taking it so lightly. In a secret bunker deep beneath the Pentagon, Earth's military leaders were having a heated discussion. "We should strike now, while they're confused." General Thompson pounded his fist on the table. "We've got missiles. Let's use them." Admiral Chen shook her head. "And risk angering an empire that spans galaxies. No, we need to be smarter than that." As they argued, a young scientist named Dr. Emily Wong quietly entered the room. She cleared her throat nervously. "Excuse me," she said, "but I think I might have a solution." Back on the alien flagship, Emperor Zix had made a decision. "Send down a probe," he commanded. "We need to understand these humans better." A small, sleek object detached from the ship and descended towards Earth. It was designed to be stealthy, nearly invisible to human technology. Or so they thought. As the probe entered Earth's atmosphere, alarms went off in military bases around the world. Within minutes, fighter jets were scrambled. Emperor Zix watched in disbelief as Earth's primitive aircraft surrounded his high-tech probe. "Impossible," he muttered. "How did they even see it?" What Zix didn't know was that Earth had been preparing for this moment. In the week since the aliens arrived, scientists like Dr. Wong have been working around the clock, developing new technologies to detect and counter alien tech. The probe, realizing it had been spotted, tried to retreat, but it was too late. A strange energy field suddenly surrounded it, freezing it in place. On the ground, Dr. Wong allowed herself a small smile. Her invention had worked perfectly. Emperor Zix was livid. "How?" he roared. "How could these primitives outsmart us?" His advisors looked at each other nervously. None of them had an answer. As news of the captured probe spread, people around the world celebrated. It was a small victory, but an important one. It showed that Earth wasn't helpless against the alien technology. In bars and cafes, people raised their glasses in toast. To Earth, they said, the little planet that could. But the celebration was short-lived, because now both sides faced a crucial question. What next? For Earth, the captured probe was both a triumph and a risk. They had proven they could stand up to the Empire, but in doing so, they might have provoked a war they couldn't win. For Emperor Zix, it was a humiliation. He had underestimated these humans, and now he had to decide. Should he retreat and save face, or should he show these upstart humans the true might of the Galactic Empire? As night fell on Earth, people looked up at the alien ships with a mixture of fear and pride. They had stood their ground, but at what cost? In his flagship, Emperor Zix stared down at the blue planet, his mind racing. He had conquered 1,000 worlds, but none like this. For the first time in his long reign, Emperor Zix felt something he had never experienced before. He felt uncertain. And in that moment, both Earth and the Galactic Empire stood on the brink of a decision that would change the course of galactic history forever. The question was, who would make the next move? And what would that move be? Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, in a secret facility known only to a handful of people, Dr. Emily Wong stood before a massive computer screen. Lines of code scrolled past faster than the human eye could follow. "Is it ready?" asked General Thompson, his voice tense with anticipation. Dr. Wong nodded, her eyes never leaving the screen. "Yes, sir. Project Prometheus is online. In the week since capturing the alien probe, Earth's best and brightest had been working nonstop. They had learned more about alien technology in those few days than in all of human history. But Project Prometheus was something else entirely. It wasn't reverse-engineered alien tech. It was pure human innovation, born from the pressure of impending doom. "Activate it," ordered the general. Dr. Wong took a deep breath and pressed a button. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, suddenly, every screen in the room lit up with a soft blue glow. A gentle voice, neither male nor female, filled the room. "Hello, world. I am Prometheus." Meanwhile, high above the Earth, Emperor Zix was planning his next move. The loss of the probe had been embarrassing, but he was determined to show these humans the true might of the Galactic Empire. "Prepare the gravity disruptors," he commanded. "We'll show them what happens when you defy us." His officers rushed to obey, activating weapons that could turn Earth's own gravity against it. Cities would crumble, oceans would rise, and the planet would be forced to surrender. But as they powered up their weapons, something strange happened. Their systems began to glitch. Screens flickered, controls failed to respond. "What's happening?" Zix demanded. His chief technician looked baffled. I don't know, Your Highness. It's like something is interfering with our systems." Back on Earth, in the secret facility, Dr. Wong allowed herself a small smile. "Prometheus is working," she announced. "The AI is successfully hacking and disrupting the alien systems." General Thompson couldn't believe it. "You mean to tell me that this computer program is outsmarting the most advanced civilization in the galaxy?" Dr. Wong nodded. "Prometheus isn't just a program, sir. It's a true artificial intelligence, and it's learning and adapting at an incredible rate." As they watched, Prometheus didn't just defend against the alien attacks. It began to probe the alien systems, learning their weaknesses, understanding their technology. On the alien ships, panic was setting in. None of their weapons were working. They couldn't even send messages between ships. Emperor Zix was beside himself with rage. "How is this possible? They're primitives. They can't possibly have technology this advanced." But they did, and it was all thanks to human ingenuity and the pressure of an impossible deadline. As news of Earth's successful defense spread, people around the world celebrated. In Times Square, huge crowds gathered, cheering and hugging strangers. In Tokyo, people danced in the streets. In Rio de Janeiro, an impromptu carnival broke out. But Dr. Wong and her team weren't celebrating yet. They knew this was just the beginning. "Prometheus," Dr. Wong said, "what do you think the aliens will do next?" The AI's response was immediate. "Based on my analysis of their behavior and technology, there is a 78.3% chance they will attempt a ground invasion within the next 24 hours. The room fell silent. A ground invasion. It was what they had feared most. But then Prometheus continued. "However, I have already begun formulating defensive strategies. With the data I've gathered from their systems, I believe we can repel any invasion force they send." General Thompson looked at Dr. Wong in awe. "Doctor, what exactly have you created here?" Dr. Wong looked at the screens, watching as Prometheus continued to learn and grow. "I'm not entirely sure, sir," she admitted, "but I think we might have just leveled the playing field." As night fell on Earth, people looked up at the alien ships with new hope. They were no longer just a small planet facing an overwhelming force. They were humanity, with all its creativity, determination, and now, its own guardian eye. Emperor Zix stared at his malfunctioning systems, a feeling of dread growing in his stomach. For the first time in his long reign, he wondered if he had finally met his match. The battle for Earth was far from over. But thanks to Earth's hidden strengths and the birth of Prometheus, it was a battle they just might win. The sun rose on what might be the most important day in Earth's history. The alien ships hung in the sky like dark clouds, a constant reminder of the threat looming over humanity. In the secret mountain facility, Dr. Emily Wong hadn't slept in 48 hours. Her eyes were red, but alert, fixed on the screens showing Prometheus's latest calculations. "They're moving," she said, her voice tense. General Thompson leaned in, squinting at the displays. "Moving where?" "Everywhere," Dr. Wong replied. "They're spreading out, surrounding the planet. It looks like they're preparing for a full-scale invasion." The general's face hardened. "Then we better be ready for them." Around the world, as news of the impending invasion spread, people reacted in different ways. Some panicked, rushing to stores to stock up on supplies. Others stood defiant, gathering in city squares with homemade signs saying, "Earth says no." In New York, the hot dog vendor who had set up shop under an alien ship was doing brisk business. "Get your alien invasion special here," he shouted. 2 dogs and a drink, perfect for watching the end of the world. Meanwhile, in his flagship, Emperor Zix was facing a crisis of his own. His best technicians had failed to counter the mysterious force that had disabled their weapons. His generals were demanding action, but every plan they proposed seemed doomed to fail against Earth's unexpected defenses. "Your Highness," one advisor said nervously, "perhaps we should consider negotiation." Zix's 4 eyes blinked in surprise. Negotiate? With primitives? But even as he said it, a part of him wondered if it might be their only option. Back on Earth, Prometheus was working overtime. The AI had infiltrated the alien communication systems, learning their language, understanding their technology. "Dr. Wong," Prometheus's calm voice filled the control room. "I believe I can establish direct communication with the alien leadership." Dr. Wong and General Thompson exchanged glances. This could change everything. "Do it," the general ordered. In his ship, Emperor Zix was startled by a sudden message appearing on his main screen. It was in perfect galactic standard. "Greetings, Emperor Zix of the Galactic Empire. We are prepared to discuss terms." Zix couldn't believe it. How had these humans learned their language so quickly? As tensions rose, both sides prepared for the worst while hoping for the best. Earth's military was on high alert. New weapons developed with Prometheus's help were aimed at the sky. The alien fleet hovered, weapons powered but not firing, unsure of what to do next. It was a standoff unlike any in galactic history. In homes around the world, families huddled together, watching the news and waiting. In Tokyo, a young girl asked her mother, "Are the aliens bad people?" The mother thought for a moment. "I don't think they're bad," she said finally. "I think they're just used to getting their way. But they're learning that Earth is different." High above the Earth, junior officers on the alien ships were beginning to question their mission. "Why are we even here?" one asked his friend. "These humans clearly don't want to join the Empire. Maybe we should just leave them alone." Such thoughts were spreading through the fleet, a quiet rebellion brewing among the ranks. As the hours ticked by, the whole world held its breath. Would the aliens attack? Would Earth's defenses hold? Or would cooler heads prevail on both sides? In the control room, Dr. Wong watched as Prometheus continued to analyze and adapt. "What do you think will happen?" she asked the AI. "Based on my calculations," Prometheus replied, "there is a 62.7% chance that this situation will be resolved without large-scale conflict. However, the next 24 hours will be critical." General Thompson nodded grimly. "Then we better make them count." As night fell once again, the Earth and the Galactic Empire faced each other across the void of space. 2 civilizations, one ancient and vast, the other young but surprisingly resilient, locked in a battle of wills. The question on everyone's mind, from the highest alien admiral to the smallest human child, was the same. What would happen next? The fate of Earth, and perhaps the entire galaxy, hung in the balance. And as a new day approached, bringing with it unknown challenges and possibilities, one thing was certain: the universe would never be the same again. As the standoff entered its second day, Dr. Emily Wong had an idea. She hadn't slept in 72 hours, but her mind was racing with possibilities. "Prometheus," she said, her voice hoarse from exhaustion, "can you identify any factions within the alien fleet?" The AI's response was almost immediate. "Affirmative, Dr. Wong. I have detected at least 3 distinct groups with differing opinions on how to proceed." Dr. Wong's eyes lit up. She turned to General Thompson. "Sir, I think I have a plan." Meanwhile, aboard the alien flagship, Emperor Zix was facing a rebellion. His officers were divided. Some wanted to attack Earth immediately, others argued for retreat, and a growing number were calling for negotiations. "Your Highness," one brave lieutenant spoke up, "perhaps we should consider the humans' offer to discuss terms." Zix's face turned a deep shade of purple. Discuss terms? With inferiors? Never. But even as he said it, doubt crept into his mind. These humans had proven far more capable than anyone had expected. Back on Earth, Dr. Wong was explaining her plan to a room full of world leaders. "We can use Prometheus to send targeted messages to different factions in the alien fleet," she said. "We can offer them things they want, play them against each other." The President of the United States nodded slowly. "Divide and conquer. It's risky, but it might just work." With the world leaders' approval, Dr. Wong and Prometheus got to work. They crafted careful messages, each designed to appeal to a different alien faction. To the military hardliners, they sent images of Earth's defenses, hinting at even more powerful hidden weapons. The message was clear: attacking would be costly. To the curious scientists among the aliens, they offered exchanges of knowledge. "Imagine what we could learn from each other," the message read. And to those aliens who seemed most sympathetic to Earth, they sent messages of peace and mutual respect. "We may be different, but we can coexist," they wrote. As these messages spread through the alien fleet, confusion and disagreement grew. Officers argued with each other, unsure of what to believe or how to proceed. Emperor Zix watched in dismay as his once unified force began to fracture. "What trickery is this?" he bellowed. But it wasn't trickery, it was diplomacy, powered by the most advanced AI Earth had ever created. On Earth, people began to notice changes in the alien ship's behavior. Some moved closer to the planet, while others backed away. It was as if the fleet itself was uncertain. In New York, the hot dog vendor looked up at the shifting ships. "Huh," he said to a customer. "Looks like the aliens are as confused as we are." His customer, a young woman with bright green hair, laughed. "Maybe they just need to try one of your hot dogs. That'll sort them out." As Prometheus continued to work, sending messages and analyzing responses, Dr. Wong allowed herself a moment of hope. "It's working," she whispered to General Thompson. "They're actually listening to us." The general nodded, a rare smile on his face. "It's not over yet, but I'll be damned if you haven't given us a fighting chance." In secret communications channels, alien officers from different factions began to reach out to Earth directly. Some were curious, others cautious, but all were willing to talk. Emperor Zix, realizing he was losing control, made a desperate decision. "Prepare for attack," he ordered. But as his officers tried to carry out the command, they found themselves blocked at every turn. Prometheus had infiltrated their systems too deeply. As the hours ticked by, more and more alien ships began to power down their weapons. Some even opened communications with Earth openly, much to Zix's fury. Dr. Wong watched the screens, barely able to believe what she was seeing. "We did it," she said, tears in her eyes. "We actually did it." General Thompson put a hand on her shoulder. "No, Doctor. You did it. You and that incredible AI of yours." As news spread that the aliens were standing down, people around the world erupted in celebration. The threat wasn't entirely gone, But for the first time since the ships appeared, there was real hope. In the secret mountain facility, Prometheus spoke. "Dr. Wong, I believe we have achieved our primary objective. The probability of a peaceful resolution has now increased to 89.4%. Dr. Wong smiled. Earth's clever strategy had worked. They had faced the greatest threat in human history, and they had done it not with violence, but with intelligence, creativity, and a willingness to communicate. The battle wasn't over, but Earth had won the day, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The dawn of a new day broke over Earth, but it wasn't just any day. It was the day the Galactic Empire admitted defeat. Emperor Zix stood on the bridge of his flagship, his purple face now a pale blue of shock and disbelief. Around him, his officers were in open rebellion. "Your Highness," his chief advisor said gently, "we must retreat. We cannot win this battle." Zix slumped in his command chair. "How?" he muttered. "How did these humans outsmart us?" Meanwhile, on Earth, celebrations were breaking out everywhere. In Times Square, huge crowds gathered, cheering and hugging. In Tokyo, people danced in the streets. In Rio de Janeiro, an impromptu carnival had started. But in the secret mountain facility, Dr. Emily Wong and her team weren't celebrating yet. They watched their screens carefully as Prometheus continued to monitor the alien fleet. "They're moving," Dr. Wong said, her voice tense. General Thompson leaned in. "Moving where?" "Away," Dr. Wong replied, a smile spreading across her face. "They're leaving Earth's orbit." As the alien ships began to retreat, a message came through on all frequencies. It was from Emperor Zix himself. "People of Earth," the message began, "you have proven yourselves to be unexpectedly formidable. The Galactic Empire recognizes your right to independence. We will leave your solar system and mark it as off-limits." A cheer went up in the control room. They had done it. Earth had stood up to the greatest power in the galaxy and won. But the message wasn't finished. However, Zix continued, "Know this. You have made an impression on the galaxy. Others will come, seeking alliance or trade. You are now part of a larger universe, whether you like it or not." As the message ended, Dr. Wong turned to Prometheus. "What do you think?" she asked. The AI's response was immediate. "This is a significant opportunity for Earth. We have proven our capability on a galactic scale. The potential for advancement is immense." General Thompson nodded. "But so are the risks. We'll need to be careful." As news of the Empire's retreat spread, the mood on Earth shifted from celebration to a mix of relief and excitement. People looked up at the sky with new eyes, wondering what other wonders and challenges the universe might hold. In New York, the hot dog vendor who had set up shop under the alien ships was doing a roaring trade. "Get your victory over the aliens special here," he shouted, "with our secret Earth's mightiest sauce." A customer, biting into his hot dog, looked up at the retreating ships. "You think they'll be back?" he asked. The vendor shrugged. "Who knows? But if they do, we'll be ready. Want some extra sauce with that?" In the days that followed, Earth began to change. Countries that had been enemies now worked together, united by their shared experience. Scientists pored over the data gathered during the encounter, making breakthrough after breakthrough. And at the heart of it all was Prometheus, the AI that had helped save humanity. Under Dr. Wong's guidance, it continued to learn and grow, helping Earth prepare for its new role in the galaxy. 1 month after the Empire's retreat, the first alien diplomats arrived. Not from the Empire, but from other civilizations, curious about the small planet that had defied the greatest power in the galaxy. As Earth's leaders prepared to meet these new visitors, Dr. Wong stood in her lab, looking at a screen showing a map of the Milky Way. "We did it, Prometheus," she said softly. "We saved Earth." "Indeed, Dr. Wong," the AI replied. "But I believe this is just the beginning. The galaxy awaits." As night fell, people around the world looked up at the stars with new understanding. The universe was vast and full of wonders, but also dangers. Yet Earth had proven it was ready to face whatever came next. The no-entry sign still floated in orbit, a reminder of humanity's defiance. But now it had a new message added: no entry, without an invitation. Earth was closed to conquerors, but open to friends. And as the first alien diplomats descended towards the blue planet, a new chapter in human history began. The galaxy would never be the same again, and neither would Earth.